What actually happened is that we had a period when we ran short of funds. So during that period, activities, mainly it was the meetings of the presidential task force. So those meetings were still continuing. So what was happening, we were kind of like accumulating some deals with Umodzi Park. And then in each of those meetings, there were requests that were being raised from OPC. For your own information, these meetings are organized by OPC. So there were those requests that were coming. So we were just receiving those requests. And then when we got funding, we now collected all those requests that came from OPC to process payment. Now, the challenge that happened, our officer who was adding the totals from those several requests so that we can process the payment, made an error. So the way the error was, it was really difficult to be noted even by the approving controlling officer. So as a result, that summary, the requested summary was approved, and then the payment was processed. That's what happened. But we had really accumulated arrears with the Umodzi Park.
So what initiatives have you taken to make sure that you get back the money? And just to add on that, the committee has given you 7 days to get back the money. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, I think as I did indicate even during our discussion with the park, that we wrote Umodzi Park on the same issue. And then they responded to us saying that, no, look, you already have balances with us, so we cannot. Of course, we were requesting if they could give us back the money, and then we reprocess the payment. So they said, we cannot do that. So what we are planning now, even tomorrow, we will go physically to management of Umodzi Park, discuss with them, show them the recommendation that we have got here, and then assure them that no, after you have refunded us, you are going to give us new invoices, and then believe us, we will process the payment so that we normalize this situation. That's what we are intending to do.
At the end, there you also admitted defrauding some procedures. What was happening?
As I did indicate, that the nature of our department, that we respond to emergencies. So what was actually happening, those activities was reception of returnees. So what was happening, when we were coming from receiving a batch of returnees, and then the same time we are receiving a call saying that we have also returnees that are at Mwanza, needed to be processed. So then to make sure that we have sent our officers, that's why we were taking the balances that remained from a similar activity of reception of returnees, and then sending an officer to respond at Mwanza.
That's true. We've made that direction that the money has to be sent back to DoDMA. It looks like there is a lot of laxity at DoDMA, because I don't see anywhere else where somebody can overpay a hotel, because when paying, we're supposed to pay using invoices. So the other amount has to be gotten back, because if they have other issues, or if they have unpaid invoices, they have to start preparing fresh payments, not using what has been indicated in the audit report. So we've instructed, or we've taught them that they should write the Umodzi Hotel. And they should copy us in the letter.
And again, the controlling officer also admitted flouting some procedures. Yes. What do you make of that as the committee?
We have a problem. It might not be DoDMA alone. There is a lot of laxity, laissez-faire attitude amongst the MDAs. and something has to happen, and as soon as possible, because this kind of laxities gives room for people to start abusing resources. So maybe one of the interventions that Park would want to see is to maybe bring in auditors, internal auditors, for quality control. Where somebody has missed something, maybe an internal auditor should be able to raise a red flag on the same.
Some missing documents, according to the chief accountant at DoDMA, she said the office they are using is very small, so they couldn't keep some other documents. What do you make out of that?
That's a lame excuse. Documentation, this is a common problem in most NDAs, as I've already alluded to. Information management systems. These people, they don't take care, they don't look after their documentation well. We have issues of missing documentation almost in each and every MDA, almost. That's the reason why sometimes we recommend it to them that maybe they should start looking at automating their offices, so that once they lose a document, when they go into their computers, they should be able to fish out that same document. Because it is surprising that when auditors pay them a visit, all the necessary documentation, all the backing documentation, they go in. And they have a very funny way of getting back to their shelf once the auditors have left. So to come to the committee and say that we share an office and we don't have space to keep the documents well, that's a very lame excuse.
Vice Chair, at the very end, the Director of Finance also mentioned that the DoDMA officials had to commit some crimes in order to save lives. How do you react?
That's another lame excuse. You don't commit a crime to save a life. You don't do that.
Indeed, yes, we had a meeting with the officials from Ministry of Education, and they came here to answer to two issues that arose from the audit of the 6.2 billion COVID-19 funds. One of the issues was to do with the payment of allowances to ghosty workers. On this one, they have responded to say they have confirmed that those workers don't belong to the Ministry of Education, and that the DoDMA is that institution that must explain why they paid those employees, because those employees do not belong to Ministry of Education. The second issue was to do with the 53.9 million kwacha, to do with the laptops that were supposed to be bought for the College of Medicine students to do on e-learning. The request, when it came to say that because of the COVID at that time, it was at the height of the COVID, they said the students should be learning online and they will be writing exams in a month's time. So they needed those laptops within that period of month's time. But they delayed the procurement up to November. We are talking about, that was supposed to be done in May. So up to November, they delayed. And we are asking them, why did you delay? So they cited that, yes, the numbers in the procurement department were not enough. They were affected by the COVID. And they realized that they could not proceed with the procurement. And they just transferred that money to College of Medicine when the audit had started. And we found that that was wrong. In any case, that money was supposed to be used in a month's time for students that were supposed to sit exams. Those exams were already sat. And why should they transfer the money after 8 months? For what purpose? What would the College of Medicine use that money for? So we have directed them to say that money must be refunded, because that money was for COVID money. If the College of Medicine is desirous or is in need of those laptops, they must submit a fresh request to the ministry, and that will be included in their vote, and that will be considered as we consider the national budget for next year. But as far as this money is concerned, this money is for COVID, it must be refunded. If they don't refund that money, we are going to surcharge the Ministry of Education they will have to pay that money, and accordingly their budget for next year will be reduced by the same amount.
And you expressed concern that it seems the controlling officer is not in control when he failed to respond to some other questions that the committee posed. Would you explain more on that?
Yes, honestly, he left a lot to be desired out of a controlling officer. Maybe we would feel pity for him. He is just acting. He's acting controlling officer. But honestly, from the responses, he demonstrated lack of control of the operations in his ministry. A question was put across to him about the ECOS project. What is the status? He failed to answer that one. What about the 250 secondary schools? He failed to answer that one.